Hello, welcome to the Open D6 podcast. We are your hosts. I am Nick.
And this is Dan Yeager from Gears and Steam.
Today we're going to be discussing the big differences between body points and the wound system when you're playing in D6. Basically, you can pick one or the other.
Yeah, you really shouldn't pick both because that'd be insane. Okay, so body points. You got a difference between heroic characters and non heroic characters. With heroic characters, you take 20 plus a roll of your physique or your strength or whatever your health stat is, and that's the number of body points or hit points you have. And it works exactly like a video game, exactly like you're used to in D&D. If you've got a non-heroic character, you take 10 plus that roll. And that roll itself is going to probably be with maybe one less die.
Conversely, the wound system could prove deadly to any NPC, player, what have you. Essentially, they're based out of 16, I believe, if you wanted to put a number to it. But each level of wounds bears its own problems as you progress.
So I believe you had two levels of stun. A stun is what you take when you have just a few points of
1 to 4, I
damage.
believe.
1 to 4, yeah. And then after that is the wounded and injured and incapacitated. And if you take 16 hit points past, or 16 points past your resistance, that could kill you.
For all intents and purposes, if you get above a 12 and you get incapacitated, eh, you might effectively be dead also.
And that's part of the reason why a lot of people like to use the wound system. But it may sound like you have very, very few health points either way, except we haven't talked about resisting
Oh yeah,
damage.
the soak.
Yeah. So let's say you've got a blaster that does 5d damage, which is about average, maybe a little low for a lot of blasters in sci fi settings. And you're resisting it with a physique of, say, 3D. So I'm rolling to hit you. I've managed to hit you. Now I'm rolling my 5d damage. I basically roll 5 dice, add them all up. If the if I get a 6 on the wild die, I can add that 6 and keep rolling until I don't get a 6. But generally speaking, my 5 dice is going to do about 7 points of damage past your 3 dice of resistance.
There's always a chance that you survive.
Yeah, so a another way that you can increase your chance of survival is by wearing a bit of armor, which has a dice rating, say 2D, which would be really nice armor. So if a character with 3D physique has 2D armor, they'd be rolling 5D to resist my 5D damage, which on average means you don't take any damage.
You gotta consider, if you're wearing the body armor, it will give you a physique bonus, but it might give you a reflex or dexterity minus. And so that is when checks and balances sort of come into play. And you might not be able to hit your target.
And then there is also the last thing to keep in mind when you've got all these health things, scale. If I am rolling against something that's bigger, then it's going to take a little less damage, but it's going to be a little easier to hit. Inversely, if something bigger hits me, it's going to do more damage. And it's a real simple system. If I've got a scale of +5 and you've got a normal 0 scale, that gives me a 5 greater difficulty to hit you, but I do 5 more damage. If the reverse is the case, I take 5 less damage, or I have 5 better resistance, and it's 5 easier to hit me. Finally, back to armor. Shield works basically the same way as armor. It's just extra dice used to resist.
At the end of the day.
So don't think
Sorry,
of it.
Ed.
Yeah, don't think of it in. Oh, you're fine.
At the end of the day, they're all just D6.
Yeah, don't think of it in the same way that you have Star Trek shields, where you take hits and they go shields down to 60%, 50%, etc. That works almost like health points that don't get a resistance. Think of it in terms of you either take damage or you don't take damage with shields for the D6 system. I'm actually working on a way that you can have one and the other work both in simultaneous systems. So if you had a more Star Trek style shield versus a more Star Wars style shield, making them balance. But that's just a project I've got going on in the background. I hope this really helped, and I'm blathering, so let's call it here. Unless you've got anything else to add.
No, I'll just say thank you for joining us today. We're the D6 Open D6 podcast.
And hope to see you guys next time.
See ya.
Bye-bye.